The 6:47 a.m., and somewhere in a city you've definitely lived in, a phone alarm is losing a fight it wasn't built to win. Danny Rivera hits snooze the way most of us do, automatically, like his thumb has its own separate contract with the universe that doesn't involve his brain. Across the room, a gym bag sits by the door, straps slightly frayed, a thin film of dust settling into its seams like it's been declared furniture instead of equipment. This year alone, Danny has started fresh 12 times. New gym membership in January, meditation app in March, a budgeting spreadsheet so color-coded it looked like it belonged in a design museum. Every single one lasted under 2 weeks. Not because Danny doesn't want change. He wants it badly enough to keep buying the apps, the notebooks, the overpriced protein powder that's still sealed in the cabinet. He's not lazy. He's not stupid. He's a grown man with a job, a mortgage, and enough discipline to survive a decade of performance reviews. And still, he can't make it past day 10 with a habit he swears he actually wants. That contradiction is the whole reason this book exists. James Clear isn't asking why people are weak. He's asking a sharper question. Why do smart, motivated people keep failing at the exact same pattern over and over like it's rigged? And here's my honest first reaction. That question alone is worth the price of admission. Most self-help just yells "try harder" at you in 400 different fonts. This book starts somewhere more useful. Maybe the problem was never your willpower. Think about Danny at 6:47 a.m. He's not lacking motivation. The alarm is literally still going off because some version of him 12 hours earlier believed enough to set it. The failure doesn't happen at the big moment of decision. It happens in the tiny, boring, unremarkable seconds after, the ones nobody warns you about because they don't feel dramatic enough to matter. So before we get into systems and cues and all the mechanics this book is famous for, sit with the real question it's actually trying to answer. If you've got the goals, the intelligence, and the desire, what exactly keeps breaking? Danny doesn't know it yet, standing there deciding between 5 more minutes and the gym bag by the door. But the answer isn't in his character. It's in a mechanism running quietly underneath every decision he's ever made. And that's where we're headed next. Danny is sitting on the edge of his bed, gym bag still untouched by the door, and he's doing something he never does, actual math. Not budget math, habit math. He read one line from this book that actually stopped his scrolling thumb. Get 1% better every day for a year, and you end up 37 times better. Get 1% worse every day, and you're basically at 0. And Danny does what a lot of us do at 11 p.m. with a half-formed epiphany. He applies it to himself. Not to some hypothetical person. To Danny. Right now. He's been telling himself for 2 years that he's not doing anything wrong. No workouts, sure, but no disasters either. Just paused. A holding pattern. But the book's point lands like a gut punch. There's no such thing as neutral. You're not standing still. You're either compounding up or compounding down every single day, whether you notice or not. So Danny counts backward. 2 years of skipped gym days, skipped vegetables, skipped everything that felt like effort. 2 years of 1% worse, compounding quietly while he called it fine. That's the part of this book I actually respect. The compound interest framing isn't just a nice metaphor. It correctly attacks the lie that small choices don't matter because you can't see them happening. Here's my honest flag though. That 37 times better number isn't a finding. It's 1.01 to the power of 365. It's a calculator trick, not a discovery about how human progress actually works. Nobody's life improves on a smooth exponential curve. Danny doesn't get 1% better on Tuesday and 1% better again on Wednesday in some clean compounding line. He gets a decent week, then a rough one, then a week where he doesn't think about it at all. So the exponential curve is a motivating story, not a measured fact about Danny or anyone else. And that's fine as long as you use it as a compass, not a spreadsheet. What actually reaches Danny isn't the exponent. It's the reframe underneath it. He's not failing at some big transformation. He's just been quietly choosing the wrong 1% for 700 straight days. And that's a smaller, more forgivable problem than my life is falling apart. 1% he thinks he can actually move. He just has to stop pretending standing still was ever free. Last time, Danny was stacking up 1% wins, a walk here, a push-up there. But watch what he does the morning after a good week. He steps on the scale, sees a number he doesn't like, and his shoulders drop like the whole thing was pointless. That's the trap almost nobody talks about. Danny set a goal, lose 20 pounds, and every single day became a referendum on whether he's failing or winning. Goals are a finish line. The second you cross it or don't, the whole system that got you there just evaporates. This is where the book stops being a productivity pamphlet and actually gets interesting. It says forget the outcome for a second. Ask a totally different question. Not what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to become? So Danny tries something almost embarrassingly simple. He grabs a sticky note, and instead of writing lose 20 pounds, he writes, I'm someone who doesn't miss workouts. He sticks it on the fridge, right next to the gym bag that's been gathering dust for months. Here's the mechanism, and it's genuinely clever. Every time he shows up, he's not chasing a number, he's casting a vote for the person he's deciding to be. Skip the workout, that's a vote too for the guy on the couch. The book calls this identity-based habits, and it flips the whole engine of change from the outside in to the inside out. 3 weeks later, tired, half asleep, Danny almost bails on a Tuesday gym session. But instead of arguing with himself about calories or scale numbers, one thought lands differently. That's not who I am anymore. And he gets up. Notice what just happened. That wasn't willpower, and it wasn't motivation. It was identity doing the heavy lifting quietly without a pep talk. And honestly, out of everything in this book, this is the sharpest psychological insight in the whole thing. Because most self-help tells you to want the result harder. This book tells you to become the type of person for whom the result is just what naturally happens. That's not a hack, that's actual psychology, and it holds up. But, and this is where I start squinting a little, the book makes this feel almost too easy. Say the affirmation, believe the identity, and poof, behavior follows. Real life is messier than a sticky note. Down the hall from Danny, there's a guy, let's call him Dave, who has, I am a runner, as his Instagram bio and hasn't run since March. Identity language can become a costume. You can talk like the person you want to be without ever doing a single thing that person actually does. And that's my honest gripe with this chapter of the book. It never quite says loud enough that identity is built by the reps, not the other way around. The sticky note doesn't change you. The 400 times you show up when the note is watching, that changes you. Danny gets this the hard way. The sticky note alone did nothing for the first 2 weeks. It only started meaning something once his actual votes started outnumbering his excuses. That's the part the book undersells, and the part that actually matters. So here's my verdict on this piece of the book. Identity-based habits is the single best idea in Atomic Habits. It explains why sticker charts and hype speeches fail while quiet, repeated action doesn't. Just don't let the language do the work the reps are supposed to do. Danny is learning that the hard way, one Tuesday at a time. 3:30 in the afternoon, and Danny is already on his feet, phone still in hand, walking toward the break room like his legs made the decision without asking him. That's the first piece of the machine, the cue. Something in the environment, the clock hitting a certain number, the slump in his shoulders that tells his brain now. Then comes the craving, not hunger, not really. It's the ache for a break, for 5 minutes where nobody needs anything from him. The candy bar is just the excuse. So he responds. Coins in, buttons pressed, the little metal spiral turns, and a candy bar drops with that same dull thud it always makes. And the reward, that fast little hit of sugar and relief, gone in 90 seconds, forgotten by the time he's back at his desk. But his brain filed it away as worked. Cue, craving, response, reward. For steps, 90 seconds, repeated so many times it stopped feeling like a choice and started feeling like Tuesday. Here's what I'll give the book straight up. This loop isn't something the author invented in a lab. It's borrowed cleanly from decades of behavioral psychology, and Danny has been running it unexamined probably 100 times a week. But the book's real contribution, and I mean this as genuine credit, is turning that loop into a lever. Cue becomes make it obvious. Craving becomes make it attractive. Response becomes make it easy. Reduce the friction between wanting and doing. And reward becomes make it satisfying. Give the brain a reason to file the new behavior as a win. For laws, one for each link in the chain. That's the skeleton of this entire book, and I'll say it plainly. It's clean, it's teachable, and it's genuinely well organized. This is the part that earns its reputation. It's also, quietly, a machine you can run backwards. Hide the cue, make the craving boring, add friction to the response, make the reward feel like losing instead of winning, and a habit starves. My honest gripe, saying make it easy, is a lot easier than doing it at 4:30 on a Thursday when Danny is tired and the machine is right there and his gym bag is at home gathering dust. The framework doesn't do the work for you. But give credit where it's due. For the first time, Danny has language for what's actually happening to him. Not willpower failing. Just a machine running exactly as designed that nobody ever taught him he could rebuild. Tomorrow at 3:30, that clock is going to hit the same number. The question the book actually wants him asking now isn't why am I so weak? It's which one of these 4 levers do I pull first? Last time we cracked open the habit loop, cue, craving, response, reward. Danny took that machine home with him, and the first thing he noticed was his own bedroom was working against him. Phone charger by the bed. Gym bag by the front door, buried under mail. TV remote on the pillow, practically tucked in like a bedtime story. Nobody designed that on purpose, it just accumulated the way clutter always does. Here's the book's actual sharpest idea, no fluff. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your environment. Make the good choice obvious and the bad choice invisible, and willpower barely has to show up. So Danny ran the experiment. Gym clothes laid out the night before, right on the floor by the bed. The first thing his foot would hit getting up. No decision required. No morning negotiation with himself. Then the charger. He moved it out of the bedroom entirely, into the kitchen, across the apartment, deliberately annoying to reach at 11 p.m. Same phone, same apps, same pull. Just now it costs him a walk down the hallway. And the fruit bowl, out on the counter, front and center, where the chips used to live. The book calls this one location, one use. The couch is for sitting, the bed is for sleeping, the counter is for food you'd actually be proud to eat. None of this is genius. It's almost embarrassingly simple. But that's kind of the point. The book isn't selling you a trick. It's reminding you that your space is already nudging you all day, whether you notice or not. 2 weeks in, Danny is out the door for a run more mornings than not. And doom scrolling in bed has quietly dropped off without a single dramatic no phones after 9 rule. That's the 4 laws doing their quiet work. Obvious, easy, barely any friction. Now here's where I put my honest hat on. This chapter of the book only works if you own the room you're redesigning. Danny has his own bedroom, his own kitchen counter, his own front door to move a gym bag next to. But flip the picture. Picture someone sharing a 1-bedroom with 3 roommates, or a kid sleeping on a pull-out couch in someone else's living room, or a parent whose environment resets every time a shift schedule changes. Just move the charger isn't advice. It's a joke you can't afford to laugh at. And the book barely blinks at that. It gestures at design your environment like everyone's got a lease, a lock on their own door, and a say in where the furniture goes. For a lot of people, that's simply not true, and the book doesn't have much of an answer for them. So here's my verdict on this piece of it. If your home is stable and yours to shape, this is genuinely some of the most practical advice in the whole book. Cheap, fast, and it works. If your home isn't stable, treat this chapter as a nice idea for someday, not a plan for tonight. Danny got lucky, stable job, stable lease, a door that's actually his. The habit stuck not because he found willpower he never had, but because his apartment stopped fighting him. Worth remembering before we hand out too much credit to the man in the mirror. So Danny tries the environment trick. Gym bag by the door, running shoes in sight, and it helps a little. But most mornings he still doesn't move because exercise in his head means an hour he doesn't have and a body that doesn't want to. Here's the fix the book offers, and it's genuinely clever. Shrink the habit until it's almost insulting how small it is. Not exercise for an hour. Just put on running shoes. That's it. That's the whole habit. Danny laughs at how stupid it sounds. Lace up your shoes, that's the goal, you're done, go back to your coffee if you want. But something in him can't argue with a 2-minute task, so he does it. And this is the actual mechanism. Not motivation, not discipline, just friction removed so far that starting costs almost nothing. Once the shoes are on, half the time he just keeps going. Not because he's inspired, because standing there in shoes doing nothing feels weirder than walking out the door. Next, he stacks it onto something already locked into his day, right after his coffee every time, no exceptions. After I pour my coffee, I put on my shoes. One habit becomes the trigger for the next, so he stops relying on remembering or feeling like it. That's habit stacking, and I'll say it plainly. It's just a smarter version of a to-do list, dressed up with a catchy name. Still, dressing it up works because vague intentions like, "I'll work out more" die quietly, and specific chains like this one don't. But shoes and stacking only get him out the door. The real war is what happens after, because Danny's brain has spent years learning that the couch and the phone pay out immediately, and a run pays out in some vague future he stopped believing in. So the book's next move is to hack that impatience directly, give the brain something to feel good about right now. For Danny, that's a habit tracker. One box, one checkmark the second he gets back inside. It sounds almost childish, a grown man rewarded by a checkmark, but that's exactly the point the book is making, and it's right. His brain doesn't care how mature the reward is, it only cares that something good happened immediately after the behavior. Weeks in, Danny notices something. He's not chasing the run anymore, he's chasing the streak. The unbroken line of checkmarks has become its own small addiction, a good one for once. Now here's where I push back on the book, because it treats the 2-minute rule almost like a magic key that unlocks any resistant human being. It doesn't. It's brilliant for procrastination and inertia, for the Dannys who are just stuck, not broken. But if the resistance is depression, or trauma, or a genuine 12-hour workday with a sick kid at home, just put on your shoes isn't insight, it's an insult dressed as advice. The book barely acknowledges that difference, and that's its real weakness. For Danny, though, a tired, distracted, perfectly capable guy who just needed the barrier lowered, it worked exactly as advertised. Small door, small reward, and suddenly the door doesn't feel so heavy anymore. So credit where it's due. This is the most usable chapter in the whole book. Just don't hand it to someone drowning and call it a life raft. Hand it to someone standing at the shore, afraid to get their feet wet. 6 months after that first stacked habit, here's Danny on a Tuesday morning, lacing up shoes that actually get used now. No fireworks. No before and after glow up. Just a guy jogging the same 3-mile loop he's jogged on and off for about 20 weeks. He runs 3 mornings a week. Not 5, not 7, 3. He missed a week in March when he had the flu. He hasn't touched the habit tracker app in a month because honestly, he doesn't need it to remember anymore. The other thing that stuck, and this one surprised even him, he stopped blowing his budget every payday. Not because he built some elaborate spreadsheet empire. He just moved $40 into savings automatically the day his paycheck hits, before he can touch it. That's it. That's the transformation. A guy who runs sometimes and saves a little money automatically. If you came here expecting Danny to become a different person, I've got bad news, he's the same guy, just with 2 fewer holes in his life. And here's where I have to be honest with you about this book. James Clear never actually promised you'd become a different person. That's the marketing copy talking, not the text. The text promises exactly what happened to Danny, small, boring, compounding wins. So let's talk about who this actually works for, because it's not everybody. Danny had a steady job, an apartment he wasn't about to lose, and a functioning nervous system that wasn't in constant survival mode. That's not nothing, that's the whole precondition. If your habit problem is downstream of poverty, chronic pain, untreated depression, or a job that eats 14 hours a day, this book has almost nothing to say to you. It'll tell you to make the cue obvious and the friction low, great, except sometimes the friction is your rent. That's my honest gripe with it. It talks about environment design like everyone has a spare room to convert into a gym, or a boss who lets them leave at 5. Structural barriers get a polite nod, and then the book moves right along to talking about paperclips. But for Danny, stable, mildly stuck, motivated enough to try, the system did exactly what it said on the tin. It didn't give him new information. It gave him an order to put information he already half knew into. That's the real gift of this book, and I don't say it as an insult. It's common sense organized. 2-minute rules, obvious cues, satisfying rewards. Your grandmother could have told you half of this. What Clear did was build the scaffolding so you'd actually use it. And scaffolding matters more than people admit. Most of us don't fail because we don't know exercise is good for us. We fail because nobody ever handed us a system small enough to actually start on a Tuesday when we're tired. So here's my verdict, plain and simple. If you're a reasonably stable person who's stuck in neutral, not broken, just coasting, this book will absolutely help you get unstuck. If you're fighting something bigger than a habit, treat it as one tool in a much bigger toolbox, not the whole toolbox. Danny didn't fix his whole life. He just runs 3 mornings a week and keeps $40 he used to lose. 6 months ago, that would have sounded pathetic to him. Now it's just Tuesday. And maybe that's the real lesson this whole book was trying to teach. Whether it says it out loud or not, you don't need to become someone new. You just need to stop losing the same small battles over and over, forever.